watching The End Zone, sponsored by Lucky Star Casino.
And welcome to another edition of The End Zone. I am Colby Daniels, and joining us this week from 107.7 The Franchise, she is the host of the Thunder postgame show, Aubin Fippen.
Hello.
As everybody in OKC has Thunder playoff fever, or at least from what we can remember about the Thunder, I think they're in the playoffs. It's been a while, Aubin. My memory's a little hazy. How are you?
I know. I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. What's this week been like with the Thunder off and just waiting for an opponent?
Well, I mean, working in radio, as you know, Colby, it's different every week. So this week, not much going on other than practice and a lot of waiting around and watching playoff games, watching this Nugget series, which has been insane, a lot of fun for NBA fans. Doing stuff for our country station, which has been kind of new this week.
There you go.
So just, expanding my resume this week while
Nice.
Thunder is on rest. So.
Yeah, trying to find ways to fill your time, which is what the Thunder are doing.
Yep.
Every media availability we've had this week, they've kind of given the same answers to questions like, we're aware of who we might play, but we're not looking too deep into it. We're worried about ourselves. I know they want to find out who their opponent is, and they want to put in that work. They're that kind of team, but we'll get into who the opponent is in the next segment. Let's focus on the Thunder. They will, by the time this next round plays, they will have played 4 games in a total of 22 to 23 days.
Yeah.
So that brings up the biggest question, I think, this week. Rest versus rust. Is it good that they have all this time to charge the battery, if you will, or are they going to show up for round 2 very rusty?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the thing with this team is they're young, so that's not a thing I feel like they have to worry about. I think a good example of that was right after, in February, All-Star Weekend. I mean, everyone loves All-Star Weekend. But after All-Star Weekend, you have that week and a half break. It's kind of like the spring break for the NBA, and you think, okay, what's this rest look like for them? And they come back and end up winning against the Jazz. What was it, like by 20 or more from that week? So I don't think rest is a big thing for this team. They're so young. And they don't really have to worry about that. They all have young legs, and again, second youngest team behind them last year, being the first youngest team in the playoffs. So no, I don't think that's something the Thunder really has to worry about.
If they had injuries, I think you would probably appreciate the rest more, but they're pretty healthy going into the postseason. I would remind people in terms of the rust aspect, they had a week off after the regular season, and they became one of, at that time, I think 6 or 7 teams to win a playoff game by 50-plus points.
Yeah.
After a week off. So I know whoever the challenge is going to be between Denver and the Clippers, it's going to be a tougher challenge in the next round, and you're probably not going to win those games by 50, but they seem to have a good head on their shoulders, and I just like the competitive nature that they've displayed. There have been Thunder teams in the past that I think a week off probably would have been detrimental.
Yeah.
I don't get the sense with that group.
No, not at all. Not with this group. Like I said, they're so young. You don't really have to worry about that. And again, injury is not something. You kind of battled those injuries at the beginning of the year. Chet goes out for a while. We just got AJ back, which obviously it's playoff time, so minutes will be cut. But no, I think I'm excited because how things are playing out right now. And honestly, it's funny because, we talked to Mark the other day and we're like, hey, are you watching, this Denver series? And he's like, I got kids. I'm going to bed at 8:45. I'm not staying up till 11:30 to watch this. Like, who we get is who we get. We're not really preparing, for one specific team. So it's going to be fun. I mean, Monday or Tuesday is set for the second round. It'll be in Oklahoma City for game 1. So it should be a fun game 1.
If I got the opportunity to get the condensed version that Mark Daignault actually gets, right, where you don't have to watch all the timeouts and all the pauses between plays and the 30 minutes that it takes to play the final 2 minutes of the game, I would go to bed at 9 o'clock as well and then watch the condensed version, but I don't necessarily have that opportunity.
I'm 25, no kids, no husband, and I'm still wanting to go to bed at 8:45, 9:30, so I don't blame them.
In terms of the 4 games against the Grizzlies, what were your positive observations about this team, and was there anything in that series that worried you?
I think the most positive thing is definitely J-Dub, Chet, our role players, because your big question was going to the postseason is what do we look like without non-Shea minutes all year, what its non-Shea minutes look like. And they have proven, I mean, Shea really had probably his couple worst games this whole season in the postseason. So I think that was probably the biggest question, and they really proved that, hey, if Shea's off tonight, don't worry, we'll pick up your slack. We're deep, and they did a great job of that. So
I thought that a year ago in the postseason, J-Dub at times looked a little
Yeah.
bewildered, right? Maybe looked like the moment was too big for him, or I don't know what it was, but he just didn't
First time
look
in
like
the
the same
playoffs,
guy.
yeah.
He looks maybe as focused as anybody on the team so far in this playoff run. And I would say the same thing about Chet. They both seem to have an assertive nature to their games as opposed to what we saw last year. I did hear some complaints about maybe the 2 games in Memphis and the Thunder having some stretches where they didn't play well.
Well, Memphis had them figured out, Colby. I don't know if you know
that's
this.
right,
So
that's right.
If Ja was there, they probably would have come back and won the series. So
Any worries about what you saw in those 2 games and falling into the hole that they did?
no, not I don't think Thunder fans or anyone really needs to worry with what's going on. I mean, no.
I think there's something to be said for having a 2-0 lead and feeling good about
And
your
winning your
approach
first
as
game by-
opposed to if you were in a 2-2 series.
Yes, yeah.
So, yeah. The one thing about the playoffs that is completely different than the regular season is the physicality. We've seen it already in the Memphis series, and Chet Holmgren spoke about it earlier this week.
It's great. It feels like how we used to play at the park, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, there's no plan for a foul out there. You know, you got to play to get a bucket. And, you know, if you played to get a foul at the park, you know, somebody would just take the ball and go home. You know, there is no memo before the game. It's like, this is how we're going to call the game. So you can't go out there and kind of feel out how the refs are going to call the game. You know, because especially in Game 3, they were just letting everything fly, which, you know, I'm cool with. But I feel like we have to go out and set the tone on how they need to call the game.
The physicality, no doubt, was an issue for them last season in the postseason. Chet, while he still makes me very nervous taking contact, he seems to approach it in a much better way, and I think obviously adding Isaiah Hartenstein has been a complete game changer to what we saw a year ago.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of questioned the double big lineup and what that was going to look like in the postseason, and I feel like it's worked out well. Hartenstein and also, I know he wasn't mentioned, Caruso. Those 2 gets in the offseason have been absolutely crucial for the Thunder this year, especially we know how well they've played on defense.
A+.
Historically, been one of the best teams to ever play. But with Chet, you know, obviously he goes out with injury and you question kind of what he's going to look like coming back into things. But that second half that he played in, what was that, Game 3 or 4? I mean, it was 23 points and 1 point in the first quarter. I mean, he's really just dominated. He's been on the boards. I mean, Chet has really stepped up in big ways for the Thunder.
In the historic comeback that would not have taken place if Ja Morant had not got hurt.
Yes,
We just
just
gotta
to make
remind
that
people.
clear.
All right, let's take a timeout. Game 7, LA Clippers, Denver Nuggets to decide the Thunder's next opponent. We'll talk about what the better matchup might be next here on the End Zone. And welcome back to the End Zone. Aubin Fippen with 107.7 The Franchise is our guest this week. I'm Colby Daniels. The Thunder have been waiting on their next opponent. We are getting ready for a Game 7 matchup between the Denver Nuggets and the LA Clippers. The winner will then take on the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Western Conference semifinals, also known as the second round, if you want to put it in simpler terms. In terms of the 2 possibilities in the matchups, is there one that you think is more beneficial to Oklahoma City than the other?
I don't know about beneficial. I feel like this team has kind of proven to be we can take on whoever you throw at us. But I think ideally for the Thunder and maybe for NBA fans, a Jokic and Shea series would be most fun to watch and probably the better opponent for the Thunder, given I think the Clippers are the better team, even though I did have the Nuggets winning in 7. So we'll see if I'm actually right about that. But I do think the Clippers are the better team. You know, you have playoff Kawhi, Harden's been good, Norman Powell, all of that. But I think the Nuggets are the better matchup for the Thunder. I think they've beat them at least twice this year, once this year.
They have. That's right.
So I think the Nuggets would probably be the best bet for the Thunder to move on to the Western Conference Finals.
Well, in terms of regular season matchups, the Thunder were 2-2 against the Denver Nuggets. Now, they did play against Denver in the season opener back in October. I don't even remember the day, but October 24th. They beat the Nuggets. They played them again on November 6th, so those were early season games. The Thunder were without Isaiah Hartenstein for both of those early matchups, and in one of those games, Denver didn't have Jamal Murray or Aaron Gordon, 2 of their starters. So, again, take the regular season matchups for what they're worth, but they split the 2 early games. They then had the back-to-backs, if you remember, in March 9th and March 10th. The March 9th game had a ton of MVP hype around it.
Yeah.
The Thunder were exceptional. Shea was exceptional. Kind of felt like that game probably wrapped up the MVP race. Denver bounced back the next night and won even without Aaron Gordon in the lineup. So we did see some really good matchups between the Thunder and Denver. As far as the Clippers go, the Thunder were 4-0 against the Clippers in the regular season. Now, 3 of those 4 games, the Clippers didn't have Kawhi Leonard, which is a complete game changer for that team. The Thunder, though, were without Isaiah Hartenstein for 2 of those games and without Chet Holmgren for 3 of those games. So I think in terms of trying to take anything from the regular season matchups with the Thunder and the Clippers, you probably have to throw all 4 games out the window, and I don't know that you can really hang your hat on anything.
No, I don't know if you can really look at these regular season games and base anything off that, because like I said, playoff Kawhi, different. Oh, and what Jamal Murray are we going to get? Are we going to get a 43-point Jamal Murray, or are we going to get a regular season Jamal Murray? Because he's definitely a postseason guy for sure. So you never know what you're going to get. One thing you know what you're going to get is what the Thunder has, and what they've been, consistency has been key for them this season. So again, interesting matchups. I'm excited to see what will happen. I think it'll be, I mean, who do you have coming out of?
I think Denver's going to win Game 7 in Denver. And it's going to give us, I think, the more fun series, OKC versus Denver. You have the, obviously, matchup with Shea and Jokic in terms of the MVP conversation.
Yep.
They don't care about that, but for us, the NBA nerds, we're going to geek out on that part. Russ coming back to OKC as well is a big aspect. I think Denver is also the toughest matchup, though, because I think matching up with Jokic is a much tougher chore than Harden and Kawhi Leonard, simply because you have so many great perimeter defenders on this Thunder team that you can, I think, throw Caruso and Dort and Kasem Wallace and rotate guys on all of those offensive players. So I think Denver's probably a little tougher matchup simply from the Jokic factor, but it's also the matchup I'm hoping for because I think it'll be a lot more fun. In terms of the Thunder's preparation, let's hear from Mark Daignault on what they've been doing in preparation for either one of these teams.
We don't want to put a lot of time into one team, and then next thing you know, the other team wins. So there's enough we can work on, and there's enough fundamentals that are going to matter no matter what, that we can work on them. We're going to be at no disadvantage from a preparation standpoint relative to our opponent. They're still playing in a series right now, whoever they are. And we've gotten used to these, quick preparation turnarounds. It's actually probably a good thing for us and the team that it forces us to prioritize and doesn't let us get in the weeds on a bunch of different things. The last part is after game 1, your game plan presents itself at that point. And there's things that you couldn't have predicted that become priorities, and then the series starts to unfold. So we've found a comfort with the way that we've prepared, and part of that is like not getting too deep too early.
I like that he reminded everyone, from a coaching standpoint, most of what they do happens after game 1. They kind of get a feel for how both teams approach things, and then adjustments take place, and that's why they always say a series really begins in game number 2. So that's one of those common things that I think people sometimes forget in terms of the preparation for game 1 of a series. All right, we're going to take a timeout, and we're putting Aubin Pippin in the hot seat. It's Moving the Chains next here on the End Zone. All right, welcome back to the End Zone. It's time for Moving the Chains. Aubin Pippin with 107.7 The Franchise is joining us this week. So the concept of this segment, you start with 1st and 10. I'm going to throw you questions. Depending on how well or not well you answer those, I will give you positive or negative yardage. The goal is to pick up a first down, move the chains, as is appropriately titled.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. By the way, your teammate, Matt Burton at 107.7 The Franchise, probably delivered the worst moving the chains we've ever had. He's a friend of mine, and I give him grief about it all the time. So at least do better than Matt Burton.
Well, we give him plenty of crap on our postgame show, so
all right,
nothing
fair
new.
enough. Shout out to my guy, Matty B. All right, 1st and 10. Start, bench, cut. You got to start 1, bench 1, cut 1.
Okay.
We're going to go Thunder centers. Kendrick Perkins, Steven Adams, and Isaiah Hartenstein. What do you got for me?
Oh, okay. This is hard. Okay, I'm going to get maybe not hate for this, but I'm going to bench Kendrick. Sorry about you. I'm going to start. Might be controversial, but I'm going to start Hartenstein.
Okay.
And wait.
And you're going to cut?
I meant to say I'm going to cut Kendrick. My bad. Let me just go back on that.
Okay.
Cut Kendrick, bench Adams, and start Hartenstein.
Usually I allow a little wiggle room, like if somebody doesn't quite share my same opinion on something, I allow a little wiggle room. This one had a definitive order, and it was start Isaiah Hartenstein, bench Steven Adams, and absolutely cut Kendrick Perkins. So when you said bench Perkins, you were already going backwards, and you salvaged it. You salvaged it. So I'm going to give you 5 yards
My bad.
on first down. So
it's TV nerds.
way to save it. 2nd and 5 is what we're setting up here. All right, you've heard the viral conversation about one gorilla versus 100 men, right?
Yep.
One gorilla versus 100 of the toughest NBA players that you pick.
I have to pick one, or just
Well, you don't have to
say,
necessarily pick them, but I'm just saying, like,
there's no way.
you could pick 100 players as
maybe,
opposed to just the average person with no athleticism.
Maybe gorilla versus 100 Hulks. Like, I just I don't see anyone coming out.
A gorilla versus 100 Lou Dorts.
There's no way.
No way?
Well, you just take Lou Dort's body that you have and you use him against all the other Lou Dorts, right? I mean, like, there's no way that anyone's coming out on top of a gorilla. I mean, I guess if there's a will, there's a way, especially the way Lou Dort plays defense. Maybe take some notes in the way that he plays defense, but I don't know.
No point could 100 Lou Dorts just, like, pile on at the same time?
I'm going to go no,
and create
Colby.
an issue? Okay.
I'm going to go no.
Okay.
I'm sorry. You can't convince me.
Well, I'm not convinced necessarily either. I'm just offering the counterpoint.
All right.
This is a tough one for me. I'm not going to necessarily like give you negative yardage, but I don't love the answer either. So I'm going to go 1 yard gain on this one.
That's fair. That's
so
fair.
You're at least still moving in the right direction.
Got another shot.
3rd and 4, 3rd and manageable, which is where you want to be.
Okay.
All right, who wins a 7-game series?
Okay.
The 2025 OKC Thunder
Okay.
or the 2012 OKC Thunder that played for an NBA championship?
This is the question, huh? It's all over on social media. This is hard because you have the stars of the older team, but you have the depth with the 2025 Thunder team, which they don't have. So I'm going to go 2025 team. Sorry, but that's just how I think. I think in a 7-game series, though.
7-game series, yeah.
Yeah, for sure, 7 games. It would take that much to beat, prime KD and Russ, but I'm still going to go with this 2025 Thunder team. So
you're going to pick up a first down here.
Hey,
first down,
let's
Aubin.
go.
2025 Thunder defense and depth melt the 2012 team, I think, in a 7-game series. KD will have a couple of games where he goes off, but yeah, I think that's how that's going to go. So I agree. All right, final question before we get out of here. Pick one celebrity coach to coach the Thunder, or one celebrity to coach the Thunder for 1 game.
To coach the Thunder for 1 game?
One celebrity to coach the Thunder for 1 game. Who would it be?
Let's go Denzel.
Denzel?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. I think that, he just got out of Gladiator,
Okay.
American Gangster. I think he's going to bring that energy for the Thunder. So, and it's my mom's favorite actor. So shout out, Mom. I'll do that for you.
Listen, he has some speeches in Remember the Titans that get me fired up, and I'm ready to strap on a helmet and go for it.
There you go.
I like the answer. I'll give you positive yardage again. You moved the chains on 3rd down, so great job.
Better than Matt Burton.
You did better than Matt Burton, so shout out, Maddie, and we'll get you back on the show to try and redeem yourself once again. All right, we have a first down. Aubin Phippen joining us. We wrap up the show, the I guess, dream playoff run scenario for the Thunder next here on the End Zone. All right, welcome back one final time. Aubin Phippen with 107.7 The Franchise is our guest. All right, the Thunder have been on this run. Everybody expects them to make it to the NBA Finals. They are the odds-on favorite to win the NBA Finals. So if that scenario plays out, what for you is the dream path in terms of next opponent, Western Conference Finals opponent, and NBA Finals opponent?
That's tough. I mean, honestly, we kind of all thought it might be Thunder and Lakers in Western Conference Finals, the way that they had been playing, and, obviously getting Luka as well. And according to Shannon Sharp, which, anyway. But I think, honestly, I'd love to see the Thunder and the Wolves. And I think that would be a great matchup between them. It'd be a lot of fun, a lot of hype, with Ant and Shea and MVP and all that good stuff. So, I don't think that there's, an ideal path for them. I think, like I said earlier, they've got it on lock. But, yeah.
Give me Denver in the next round because I think just Jokic, generational player. If you're able to go through a generational player, it adds a little intrigue, I think, to your run. I love the idea of an OKC-Minnesota 7-game series, but give me Steph Curry and the Warriors over the Rockets and then over the Timberwolves. So you go through Jokic and Steph,
you're
two of the most notable players of this generation to get to the NBA Finals, and then you defeat the defending NBA champion Boston Celtics, to me, that is the dream scenario for the Thunder in terms of an iconic run. So should be a lot of fun. We got to find out the next matchup, though. We are thinking way too far ahead. Game 7 is this weekend. Aubin, we appreciate it. Let's do it again.
Thank you for having me.
Aubin Phippen with 107.7 The Franchise. I'm Colby Daniels. Everybody have a great weekend, and we're back next week.